Hello, Tucson. Hello, everyone. So, I want to talk about the Old Testament, which I talk about a lot anyway. Um, and I find it real fascinating how Father, like he embedded that in me, that Old Testament. It was real important. And I always hear you can't have the new without the old. And I think that's because some people are trying to eliminate the Old Testament. I don't know why, because you have nothing to compare it to other than the old. The New Testament is is a whole different section. And if you don't have the Old Testament, then what's the point? It's crazy. A lot of things. So that was a couple years back when, when, um, like 5 years ago, my daughter was in middle school. Somebody handed me a book. It just had the New Testament in it, and it was at a local hospital here in town. And I was like, oh, you can't do that. Not gonna work, you know. And so I find it real fascinating how those things uh, come about. But I have more stories to share about my experiences in apartment living. So, my daughter was in middle school. We lived here on this property, and um, I was a heavy drinker then. I was going through midlife crisis, I believe, was what was happening to me. And when I see people going through it, I know right away. I don't even say anything because everyone goes through it, and they do it in their own way. Some use alcohol, some use food, um, just all kinds of ways. Uh, so it's strange though during that time, um, a lot of weird stuff was happening at that time. I had CPS called on me by my neighbor. She was making false reports, which I caught her red-handed on one of those things, and I wanted to charge her. So the sheriff said, had told her, "You call us again under false pretense, we're going to have you arrested." And there was another situation years earlier. I wasn't even drinking. I was dating someone, and his neighbor, she became my friend. She had a child the same age as my daughter, and she would tell me, "I see him with a tail and spikes," and she would tell me all kinds of weird stuff. But so one day we decided to go to church, and he came and asked if her daughter could go with us, and he said no, because we weren't going to a regular Christian church. We were actually going to the Catholic church that day. And so he told her no. And, we didn't think anything else about it. A week later, I left my vehicle in his parking area and I wrote, "You're a slut, you're trash" on my vehicle. Uh, you know, and I was upset about that. And so, um, right before that happened, though, there was another incident. Um, sh- he had left for work, and it was me, her, and then and my daughter. And um, I got up out of nowhere. It was around 6 o'clock in the morning, and I opened the front door because his dog was out, and I knew if anybody came through that fence, he would bite. So when I saw the uniforms, I said, "You have to wait a minute. I have to put the dog up because you're not safe." So I put him up, and they came in, and they wanted to speak to my daughter. They had got a complaint. I heard them screaming, yelling for their life. And I was like, "She's sleeping. She's right in there." "Well, we would like to speak to your daughter." That was the complaint we got. So me and the police officer went into the room, and they had to wake her up as a false claim. And then when that incident happened with my van, I knew where it came from. And so they went to that person's house, and had a long talk with her and told her if she did it again to have her arrested. I was letting her go. I didn't press charges because I understand why she liked him. He was a real good-looking guy, and it was what it was. But you know, you just can't be doing that to people. Something else too. The father just reminded me of something. It just came like she had a neighbor, which was her best friend, who lived behind him, and he was a culprit too. He was calling animal control on him for not picking up dog poop. He put it in a pile, and so he picked it up, and he found out it's a big fine. Um, I think so. I was asking again. There was something else with her, with that specific person. She really came off, like we were best buds. Didn't it wasn't like that. Um, so when you have neighbors who show interest in your men, um, you need to deal with that person. Not cause all kinds of uproars, and because the police need to be where they need to be, and false calls like that, they don't pay. It doesn't pay, and it only hurts you in the end, really, because it makes you look bad, and then when you really need them, they're not available to you. Right? God bless. I He gave me the message when I went back over the first one. So when she created all those problems for us and got us up early in the morning, I remember a conversation we had. Um, she was behind in her rent, so I contacted her realtor and told him everything that happened, and I was going to sue him because he had a renter that's causing a problem with her neighbors. And so I explained to him that I would be suing him, and he was out of there within 24 hours. Because there's a law in place that when you have a neighbor who makes false reporting and um, harasses another for whatever reason they want to do it, it's against the law. It's called false reporting. And so I told him I was going to hold him responsible, and he booted her immediately. She was like 2 months late anyway, but that's not my problem. And then the other man that was on the other side, I saw him on the bus line a couple years later, and he was trying to hide in the back of the bus. And I went and sat right next to him. And I said, "So how you doing, And he's like, "I'm fine." And he asked me if I remembered who he was. I said, "Yes, that's why I'm sitting here." And he said, "I want to apologize for the way I treated you and did those horrible, evil things to you." I said, "I probably don't even know half the stuff you did, but you were forgiven a long time ago." But I wanted to sit next to him so he could see that what he did didn't hurt me. I'm still walking, still moving, still going to always be moving. I've had more neighbor damage in my life than I've had in any situation other than, well, I should take that back, other than my family. Because I'm called to give messages, and when I give the messages, they think I know more. I don't know anything else. I'm just giving you the message that I received from Father to you. Um, in this complex, too, there was another person who walked with Christ, but she didn't want to repent. I've talked about her in the past. Um, and Father kept sending me to her, and she was real angry with me. I'm sure she was spreading rumors like no tomorrow. Nothing to do with me. And then she wanted some proof, and I gave it to her. It was in James, actually James 3. But Father wanted me to read the whole thing, so I read it, and he would tell me this one, this one, this one, through all the books, 1 through 5, and then I gave it to her on a little postcard like this, just a little postcard like this, and I went to her house, and her husband goes, get those answers? I said, yes, sir. He goes, she's down there with her friends. So I went down there and I said, here you go. Here's your proof. And then she came back to me and apologized. She said she was so sorry. So in James, there's a section in there that says if anyone asks you for proof on why you need to repent or anything that comes from Father, it doesn't come from God. It comes from Satan. And I'm sure she was backpedaling. I'm hoping she repented. But because she was a good person, she gave a lot to the community. Her son is a pastor, and you have to live the walk that you're walking. You know, it is what it is. And she asked me personal questions too about birth control and things like that. I was honest with her, and I put my child on birth control because I trust my daughter, but I didn't trust the outside world because I experienced it myself, and I know what it can do. And my mother put me on birth control too, at an early age. So, you gotta be responsible. We really do. I know we don't want to think of the ugly things that may happen or that this could happen, but um, there's other things we don't want to happen. And, it is what it is. But I just wanted to rehash some things because it is what it is. I'm just the messenger. I don't know anything else. I don't know your whole life history. I see what I'm supposed to see too. If there's something on the body, they just showed it to me. If you're sick or something, I'm gonna let you know. But I wanted, when people want people to bend over for them, I want you to believe me, me, me. I know because I went through it too. I'm just as guilty as anyone else. Um, you tell that story long enough, even you start to believe it. And I've been there, like, right? We've been there. And honesty is the best. If there's a problem between you and somebody else, go take it up with that person. Don't drag the whole community into it. It doesn't make sense. Nobody's business anyway. And the people who do side are victims. Because I used to be a victim. But I'm nobody's victim today. And I'm speaking out because it's so important. You've been burned, anything's happened to you, you go to God, you speak to him about it, and you give it to him. And you leave it there. And you get on with your life. That's what I had to do over this since I've been in this complex. And it's starting again. The stalking, unnecessary people walking around our gate. It's management. I mean, they're doing it all over again. It's like, we just went through all this. Why are we doing this again? And this is the sad part. They have an issue with dog poop here. I got videos of people raking it and putting it into a corner and burying it, right? You get up with them. I did. And now I got a stalker at the door again. Excuse me. I've really had enough. It's just high school play, not adult play. My cousin died today. They don't know. What do they know? I just, every time she files something with video proof, that it's very embarrassing for them. Mm, It's your fault. So, I understand when they stalk me, because I'm probably a real pain in their neck. I've been complaining about that dog poop for 3 weeks. If you look it up, I'll put the link in here of what dog poop can do. That's how I learned about it when my ex-boyfriend didn't pick up his poop and put it in a pile. And I learned all about it, how it gets into the water system. And I know that because when I called about the cockroaches on the walls and on the ground down below, we had to pull talk into security, and a cockroach ran over my feet. And my daughter like, oh, that's so gross. They're in their own natural element. It is what it is. Let's just spray. One day I was out over there by the other pool and I was taking a video of the flowers. It was so beautiful. And there was all these bees. And so I thought there was a beekeeper on the property because he walks around with this hat. I really thought it was a beekeeper. I was like, hey, Mr. Maintenance Man, you can let the beekeeper know that the bees are over there all along the pole, and I showed him a video. Turned out the guy wasn't a beekeeper. He lives here. That way on a daily basis. It's cute. He had me full. I really thought he was, a beekeeper. Um, so they, that was taken care of. It's just really interesting. There's a lot of things just real interesting, I think. I remember years ago when I lived here, they had this huge beam, and they had a whole colony of bees in there. When they popped holes in it, it was just pouring out honey. That they had to kill the bees. It's a real shame. I've had apartments I lived in the closet, there was bees inside the closet. So I had to seal the area. There's a lot of things I've had to do on my own, because it is what it is. And I have the background in it. So I have to call you when I can do it myself. It is what it is. Um, I have more stories, horror stories too. Um, so we'll talk about that in the next one. All right, peace. God bless. All right, so we'll get back to um. So when I was drinking real heavy back then, I was going through midlife crisis. Probably no excuse. It's often on I drink, you know, for a period of time. But there was a woman who showed up. Her husband had been sober for some time, and all of a sudden he started drinking again. And then he had to get arrested because he was abusing her. And then she came. She came and she would sit in our group. She'd be drinking beers, chilling. But she started to tell us about that spirit. I really thought she was kind of crazy. But after she left the area, we all started talking about it because we never really drink that much. But we were all getting polluted. A lot of weird stuff was happening, and all the other neighbors' true colors were coming out. They'd make up all these stories. Oh, she had her kid taken away. But she called the police and said I punched her. I never touched her. And they needed to talk to my daughter because they already knew I wasn't violent. And so they had to talk to my daughter. But then my daughter had ran away. Um, and then she was with some neighbors, and I was accused of doing all kinds of stuff that I didn't do. And so they spoke to her. My son came and got her at that time, and I think he was 19 at the time. So he came and got my daughter, and he took me to my parents' house. But the next day, I can hear that one making that false report, which they did. I don't know if they charged her or not, but they knew that it didn't happen. They didn't arrest me or nothing. And then and so the next day, I go pick up my daughter. She had an allergic reaction at my parents' house. She almost died. She puffed up like a big balloon. So I had to take her to the doctor, and she had to get shot because she's allergic to cats. So, long story short, and it's certain cats, not all cats. Um, we were walking down the corridor, and we could hear her talking smack in one of the neighbors about how she had me arrested and my child was taken away and all that stuff. Didn't happen. We're waving at her, me and my daughter. And actually, CPS came to see me 6 months later. It was totally in a fully different complex. Um, but see how that rolls, you know? And if they keep telling the story and it's not even true, I can't tell you the lies that have been said on me. It's unbelievable. And there's witness accounts. So it is what it is. There was this one woman, she had a cross, or not a cross, she had a symbol on this necklace. And I had messages for her, and I wouldn't give them. And Father would say to me, "Why aren't you giving her my messages?" Because she has she she's a witch, and I've heard stories about how they do things. He goes, what can man do to you?" I'm like, "Spells are spells, Father." But I didn't realize those things don't affect me. at first I didn't believe in them either. So I don't know why with her it bothered me. It did bother me. Oh, my trauma brain's going off. I just didn't want to rock the boat with that one. I just didn't trust her. And then her daughters came to me and told me that they were taught those things when they're very young. So I knew she was serious at what she was doing. But in the long run, she had a bit peculiar behavior. She had her own problems. And she had no right to do what she did to me. None. She was spreading rumors. She was talking to people that hung out with. She was like airing out my dirty laundry. It's nobody's business. I'm on my porch, minding my own business. Why are you in mine? So again, I'm sitting out here on my porch this evening, minding my own business, and some man comes out of nowhere from over there, because I saw him walking down the corridor, goes down the stairs, across, and all the way back down that way. He sees me and my neighbors downstairs and say hello, has his phone in his hand. Who knows what he's doing? Beats me. I'm on my phone, minding my own business, listening to my videos on my headphones. We're going to start stalking you again. Why would you get involved in something you're not familiar with? I don't understand that. I wouldn't. If the department manager or anyone told me, hey, can you do this for me? It'd be like, go do it yourself, because I don't want to be looking at jail time when this all comes down. Because I remember what you look like, and it's all documented. That's what I'm saying. Gotta document. Gotta keep it going. So during that session, um, I woke up one day and I felt like I was beat to death. But there was no physical bruises, but I couldn't move. I was literally like in tears when we went to set up. I don't know what happened to me. My daughter, she said, you didn't go anywhere. You were home. So I don't know how I got like that, but I got like that. And I quit drinking right after that because I don't know what happened to me. And I was mixing my medicine with alcohol, and I didn't know either. And I talked about that in the past. But I want to bring up rumors because they're hurtful, and you don't know what that person may be going through. I went through a lot. I was being, at the time, my son, wouldn't have anything to do with me still, even as an adult. I was being mistreated by my family members, disrespected. Not that I was an adult, I was still 12, or I was still 10, or still 20. Not that I'm 40 and that I deserve respect. And respect is earned, my mom told me. But I did everything everybody asked me to do. But I stopped doing it now. I'm being me and truthful. I don't have to give you names because they all know who they are. And they're probably still talking smack. And they still didn't win. So, if I think of anything else, I'll be back on. Peace and God bless.